collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up this week, know your consumer rights as a European citizen.
We do have the same rights in every European country. It's the internal market of the European Union, and all the European citizens have the same rights.
An award to promote engineering excellence.
What we're looking for is for an outstanding achievement in any engineering field that demonstrates some sort of advancement in the engineering science for the benefit of the society.
And victims of human trafficking in Cyprus are being left destitute.
These people are very vulnerable, and the protection you are going to offer them, it will affect their wish and their will to cooperate to fight against this crime.
How well do you know your consumer rights? Most of us probably know a little bit about what we're entitled to as shoppers, but did you know that they apply across the European Union? Every European country has its very own European Consumers Centre. The director of the Cyprus unit is Elena Papachristoforou. Elena, how well aware are we in Cyprus of what we're entitled to as European consumers?
We're not so well informed as other Europeans, if I may say that, from my experience so far. But actually, there has been a development lately. Consumers, because of the economic crisis, they are more interested to find out their rights. They are more demanding. They are becoming more demanding.
They want value for money, don't they?
Exactly. They are more careful where they spend their money on, what they buy. And that's a good thing, actually. It's a good thing happening. I mean, to be more careful of what we're buying and be more demanding of our rights.
And of the quality of what we buy.
Yeah. Quality.
Which brings us to the way the European Consumer Centre operates. Yeah. Explain what you do.
Actually, we're a network, as you said, a European network. There is a European Consumer Centre in each European country, plus Iceland and Norway as well. And we operate, actually, our main aim is to increase or enhance the consumers' trust in the internal market of the European Union by providing to the consumers assistance when they face problems on their cross purchases. We provide them with information when they need to buy something across border. And we support their claims against traders in case, a problem appears in their transactions.
So basically it's trying to do away, if you like, with the borders across the EU market so that if you buy something in another EU country, you will have the same rights you would have if you bought it at home.
Exactly, yeah. We do have the same rights in every European country. It's the internal market of the European Union, and all the European citizens have the same rights. It's like we're buying from a market, from the local market or from a market abroad. It's the same market we're talking about, and we do have the same rights.
And I know a report's issued annually that documents complaints, and it is usually, of course, complaints that you're dealing with. What's the biggest concern of consumers?
Air transport, actually. Most of the complaints relate to air transport, and these are not, it's not just the European Consumer Centre of Cyprus that has most of the complaints in that area. All the European consumers centres do have their most complaints relate to air transport. So in Europe, the most popular complaint is air transport.
And what respect? Lost luggage?
It's a wide range. It includes delay of flight, cancellation of flights over denied boarding, lost luggage, delay in
receiving your luggage,
in receiving the baggage.
And in all of these cases, there is usually some form of compensation from the airline.
In most cases, yeah, because, airline companies are professional companies and they're trying to resolve the complaints received. So most of the cases, I would say, they're resolved to the benefit of the consumer. Yeah,
which is some good news for a change. It's always nice to have good news. You can find out more on the European Consumer Centre's website. The one for Cyprus is?
It's www.ecccyprus.org. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter. We have accounts. And if someone wants to submit a complaint locally, on a local basis, she could submit her complaint to 1429. That's a consumer toll-free line. And they deal with complaints submitted by Cypriot nationals, let's say, or by people residing in Cyprus permanently against companies based in Cyprus.
So you deal with the cross-border ones?
We do have the cross-border part, and the Competition and Consumer Protection Service of the Ministry deals with the national, the local part, let's say.
So that's ecccyprus.org. And the phone number?
Our phone number is 220867
And the free toll line?
And the toll-free line is 1429.
1429. So now you know how to claim your consumer rights.
Listen online to the Cyprus News Digest on YouTube or at cyprusmail.libsyn.com. The latest program is uploaded every Friday, and if you missed one, you can catch up there.
The Cyprus Technical Chamber, ETHIC, is organising some engineering days early in May. Joining us on the Cyprus News Digest this week is the director of the Technical Chamber, Christodoulos Hagiodiseos. Christodoulos, why is ETHIC organising engineering days? This is the first time, I think, that you've done this?
Yeah, it's the first time. Well, first I would like to say a couple of words about ETHIC, and hopefully people will understand that how this correlates with what we do. The Technical Chamber is a regulatory body for the engineering science, and it's also a technical advisor to the state. And as such, we offer education, seminars, and we organize conferences. We have public interventions about things that relate to our activities. So we feel that this is something that is very relevant with what we do. And it is an opportunity for us to reach to people, not just our members, but to other people as well. We're trying to reach the public in general. We're trying to reach students at the university level or at the high school level. And we feel that like the activities that we have incorporated in the engineering days will allow us to do that.
A lot of countries, particularly across Northern Europe, are seeing an upswing in young people who are deciding that engineering is what they want to study, because for a long time it was sort of way down the list. Is the same thing happening in Cyprus?
No, I have to say that that's not the case in Cyprus. Actually, even though we had a handicap on this matter, because engineering school in Cyprus have only been established the last maybe 10 years, yet, the majority of our memberships, of our members, have registered before that, and there are people that have studied abroad, so that was a very popular field of studying. Architecture, engineering, and the other professions that we regulate. So I know that this is happening, especially in the UK, there is a huge shortage of, skilled engineers. But, this is not the case in Cyprus, and this was a very good thing. As long as there were, job opportunities. But especially the last few years, with the unemployment rising, especially in this field, the construction field in general, I would say that together with the banking sector have been two fields that have been hit the harder with the crisis. But to answer your question, no, this has been a very popular, profession for Cypriots for some time now.
But you say that we've only recently had engineering schools, technical schools, so on, and yet I know that with the hydrocarbon possibilities in the near future, the school in Limassol has certainly, TEPAC, started offering all sorts of both undergraduate and postgraduate courses, which presumably are attractive to your members who've already graduated if they want to study further, or indeed to encourage young people who are at school leaving age to look at engineering possibilities.
Well, they have. Both the public schools and the private schools have set up, I think, mostly postgraduate courses. But then this is an area where one cannot just study for a year and then enter the area and get a senior position within this industry. It's an industry that, okay, of course, the qualifications are important, but then maybe more important is the experience that someone has. So I would expect that at least at the early stages of this industry's development, it's going to be, unfortunately, mostly people who are going to come from other countries to get the positions that have been created, especially at the medium to senior level. And hopefully, if we can somehow arrange for some knowledge to be transferred to the local engineers, because this is not going to be something that's going to start and finish within a few years. This is going to be something it's going to last a long time, because at the beginning you have the exploration, then you're going to have the power generation, then you're going to hopefully have the distribution of natural gas to the cities. At the beginning it's going to be for the industry, then they're planning to have it for hotels, large developments, and then for home use. So this is something that's going to take years to develop, and then when you develop it, you're going to have to maintain it. You're going to have to support it. So these opportunities are going to be created for decades to come.
But precisely, that means that there are going to be engineering jobs to be had right here in Cyprus. I presume as well that then these engineering days are going to include all sorts of activities that will put this message out.
Exactly. We're trying to not just focus on our members. We want to reach to the public. We want to reach to students, university students, high school students, and as such, we feel that we have a series of events that are going to touch upon all these areas. For example, we're going to organize public events, open events at each university where members of our board are going to go there and speak about what the tech is, about the engineering science, and then we're planning to have some time for discussion with the students. Also, we have included the possibility to award 2 awards for each university for the best engineering thesis projects that are going to be selected by the universities themselves. So in this way, we feel that we're going to be reaching to university students in the engineering field.
But you've also got an engineering award that I think is the first time
I was building up to that.
But that is not just for students. That is open, I think, to everybody. What sort of projects are you expecting to be put in for this award?
Well, it's actually the eligibility is within our members. So it's a very big pool. Actually, it's 13,000 members. So there's a big pool of people that can apply. What we're looking for is for an outstanding achievement in any engineering field that demonstrates some sort of advancement in the engineering science for the benefit of the society. This can either be a research project, or it can be something that is more applied. But what we are looking is something that fits this criteria. So it needs to show something unique, something new, something advanced, and it needs to show that it's for the benefit of the society as a whole and not just for an individual. So this is what we're looking for. It's like you said, it's the first time we've done this, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what sort of applications we're going to have.
What's the prize and who are the judges?
The prize is an honorary award awarded by the Chamber for the year 2015, and the judges are going to be appointed by the General Council of ETEC, and it's going to be senior engineers or Cypriot engineers basically.
And all the details, I presume, are on the ETEC website and the forms and so on, which is what? It's
www.eteketec.org.cy.
And there you will find all the events marking Engineering Days, which are scheduled to take place in early May. Christodoulos Hagiodiseos, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
For more than 7 months, people who have been recognised as victims of trafficking in Cyprus have been let down by the competent authorities of the Republic. Basically, they have no livelihood, so they're now living under conditions of utter poverty, and many of them have ended up exclusively depending on either charity or even begging. With me from KISA, Action for Equality, Support and Anti-Racism, is Doros Polikarpou. Doros, I thought that Cyprus had implemented the international standards when it came to the trafficking of human beings. What's gone wrong?
Well, we discussed this issue, I think, on several occasions. One of the main difficulties we have as a country is the implementation and to take serious when we ratify conventions or we transpose international or community law into national law to make sure that we develop the necessary policies and the necessary infrastructure to really implement properly this legal framework. In this case, we have a new law that is last year, amended and adapting to the obligations of the country as a member of the Council of Europe, as a member of the EU. We had a new directive, that we have to transpose regarding labor trafficking in general, and we did. Unfortunately, there are difficulties, very serious difficulties, when it comes to the efficiency in praxis of the provisions of this legal framework.
And you mentioned labour briefly there as you were speaking, because we should clarify here that we're talking about all victims of trafficking. People do tend to think that humans are trafficked almost exclusively for sexual exploitation, but that's not necessarily the case. And we've got, cases of sexual trafficked people, but also a lot of people who have been here and forced labour.
Yes, these are the two main categories. Apart from this, we do have also trafficking for organs spending, or for even in a more rare situation, trafficking for forced marriages. But the main two forms of trafficking that we see in Cyprus, and recently the police also came to the conclusion, something that we repeatedly said in the past, that Cyprus might be more the labor trafficking as a form of trafficking that is more widespread than trafficking for sexual exploitation. By saying this, I don't want to put any priority or say that one is less important than the other, but these are the two main forms of trafficking that I think request from us the necessary attention in order to combat it.
Now, we are supposed, I think, to give them decent living conditions, to give them psychological and social support and welfare benefits. That seems to be where everything is falling down since the introduction of the guaranteed minimum income. What's the current situation? These people are supposedly allowed to apply for that and should be receiving it, surely?
Yes, there is. First of all, there is in the law a discriminatory provision that non-Cypriots, the Ministry of Interior, can decide to delegate the examination of these applications instead of the competent authority, the new authority for the minimum income, to the welfare services. We know the difficulties at the welfare services. There are structural difficulties. There are difficulties when it comes to staff. And this actually is part of this problem. So we have a serious difficulty right now because all the applications of victims of trafficking are transferred for examination to the welfare services. And we have this serious delay. We can say that, for every human being that is in need, it's a tragic that the Ministry of Labour did not foresee the extent of this initiative. On one hand, it's correct that we move from the public allowance to the minimum income scheme, but I think, I would say, completely irresponsible that we thought we can change a so complicated system within few months, and we left many people without the necessary means at the end of the day for survival. For victims of trafficking, the situation is even worse, because it's not a matter, the minimum income here, it's not a matter of welfare policy that depends on the will and the national framework, legal framework. When it comes to protection of victims, is seen, first of all, is covered by international law and by community law. We violate international and community law when we deprive the rights of these people. And the protection of the victims is one of the core elements of the fight against this form of crime, the organized crime that is called trafficking. So if you cannot protect properly and support properly and defend properly the victims, it's one of the indicators that you are not able to face and challenge this serious social phenomenon or this serious crime that is called trafficking. From this point of view, the consequences and the dimension is completely different if you say that a human being that is recognized as a victim of trafficking is abandoned actually and exposed to to various threats because this person is not covered when it comes to social needs, the material conditions, housing, and the means for survival. Apart from this, and this is another serious obstacle in Cyprus, we have very long procedures at the court. It might take a court case for reasons that they are unacceptable actually under certain circumstances. You cannot have a trafficker who comes every 6 months to the court with a very minimal reason and ask for a new date, and then the case is postponed for 6 months. And we have cases that they are postponed again and again, and we have 3 years now, and they didn't even start the proceedings at the court. You can imagine that these people, 3 years, they are in limbo, you don't cover them properly, and in our opinion, it's one of the other very serious problems we have is that we don't have trainings or vocational training in order to support these people, to improve their skills as one of the important elements after they come out of this circle of trafficking, to be able to take a new position in the society so that they are not again exposed and vulnerable to a new circle of trafficking.
So we're talking as well about the integration there that is totally lacking. But I want to come on to the Amnesty International report on Cyprus, which I think has just come out this week. And it does say that trafficking in human beings, there are concerns raised that the police employ a definition of a victim of trafficking that Amnesty says, and I quote, fell short of international standards. Now, if we have international standards and we've ratified or transposed all these regulations, how can we have a different definition?
Well, this is an issue that we discussed at the last amendment of the law. The position of the civil society was that we need to lay down the criteria and the definition for the recognition in the law for various reasons, because there is transparency, because it's published, and because from the law deprive rights for the victims in case they are not properly evaluated. For example, they disagree on the decision that they are or they are not victims of trafficking. They have a legal way to challenge this definition or this decision by the police. What we have now is that, according to the recent amendment of the law, is the police, according to internal regulations, responsible to proceed with the definition and the recognition according to this definition of the victims. And this raises various concerns. As I said, first of all, at any moment the police can decide to change this criteria, and nobody can know or have a say if they want to do so on this procedure.
So it's a total lack of transparency, basically.
Lack of transparency and accountability, because, we can... if you don't know the criteria, and if the criteria are not there to challenge in front of competent authority, whether it's court or any other independent authority, it means that it's very dangerous that there is also mishandling of this.
Who has oversight in Cyprus for these cases? I mean, if, as I say, we've transposed the laws that we have to transpose, in theory, the infrastructure is in place. Who is ultimately responsible for making sure that it works?
Well, according to the law, the coordination of all public authorities is at the hands of the Minister of Interior directly. Is the Minister of Interior responsible to coordinate all the actions, efforts, infrastructure necessary to meet the obligations of the country concerning trafficking? Then we have the various departments. At each department, we have the Welfare Service, we have the Labour Department, we have the Ministry of Health, we have the Ministry of Justice, and we have also, of course, also the Ministry of Interior. All these departments sit together in the multidisciplinary committee, and they are supposed to coordinate their efforts and develop the necessary infrastructure to do our job together.
Which, when you say to develop it, it's not there then?
It's not there. Unfortunately, there is a serious lack of infrastructure. We don't have, the law provides that, for example, victims of trafficking in general, they need to have protected housing. At the initial stage, they need to be in a shelter to be protected until they will take their decision to cooperate with the authorities. And if they cooperate with the authorities, they are then supported. And when they are ready, with the support of the authorities, then they can leave this shelter. We have only one shelter. It's a government shelter, and it's only for women victims of trafficking for sexual exploitation. So the other victims, they don't have a shelter.
So where do they go?
They go to charity organizations trying to find housing for them. They go to friends, and some of them, unfortunately, we had even a recognized victim of trafficking who was sleeping in front of the mosque, of the Omerier Mosque in Nicosia, because he did not have any place to stay.
Now, Kisa sent out a press release about all of this, and you called on the Ministry of the Interior to actually, in effect, get its act together. Have you had any response?
Indirectly, directly not, but indirectly as usual. I mean, unfortunately, our authority, they speak more with the media than with civil society organizations, but okay, we try as well to speak through the media to the ministers or to the authorities, so I can understand this on the other hand. So, yes, according to the reports in the media, both ministries, the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Labor, got at least alert by this press release, and they are working on the issue. I found it, to be honest, a bit, let's put a question mark and not say something worse or more critical. I was trying for the last 3 months, and I know that other NGOs were trying as well, to speak with the authorities. I made several calls, at least 50 calls to various authorities at various levels, at the level of the Office of the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Labor, informing him that there is a serious problem here and there is a failure, giving promises, we are going to look into the issue, and nothing happened. All of a sudden, they realized that there was publicity about this, and both ministries are working on it. I hope that we will really work on it and try to find a solution on this issue, and not that we are going to, after a few days, that is not going to be in the middle of the public discussion anymore, to forget again this issue and leave the victims without the necessary support.
What solutions do you foresee?
First of all, we don't have so many victims in Cyprus. It's a small country. It's possible and it's very easy when we have a victim that all authorities will come together with the participation of civil society organizations, and they work a very practical plan how to protect this victim and what to do each of us in order to give the best possible solution and support program for a victim. It's only few numbers. It's the political will that is missing. Repeatedly we ask at the level of the authorities to have memoranda of cooperation with the various departments to develop this cooperation, and there is, I have the feeling, lack of political will from the side of the authorities, first of all to coordinate between them properly the work, and then to coordinate their efforts with the civil society organizations as well. I think this is the most important. We don't have these huge numbers. We are not a country that is very difficult, one department to speak with the other, because we are a huge mechanism that is, we know nearly personally each other in this country. So the best thing we can do, first of all, is to agree that we have a serious responsibility towards these people, to agree that when we vote and we create legislation, we have to take it serious and make sure that we follow these laws and we implement this law in the best possible way. And I think this is one hand, to take serious the laws that we vote in.
But the bottom line is the practical steps that need to be taken.
The practical steps, I think, it's first of all, when it comes to the minimum income, it's very simple. Victims of trafficking, they should get welfare or financial support, housing, from the very first day that the authorities are aware of the possibility that they are even, the law provides that before they are recognized, they have access to social rights. And there is a reason for it. Because from the very first moment, these people are very vulnerable, and the protection you are going to offer them, it will affect their wish and their will to cooperate, to fight against this crime. So it's not a coincidence that the law provides that these people are looked after from the very first moment. It's one of the few categories we have in the law where the law says that any information available that somebody is a potential victim of trafficking can even stop any effort of deportation without any other step. It's a very serious issue.
And of course you do need to put all of that in place if you want to get the victims to be brave enough to testify in court. The other problem you mentioned is the length of time it takes a lot of these cases to come to court, or at least to get to the point where the court will actually hear the case. Yes. Is there anything moving on that? Should we have a separate court sort of system where these are fast-tracked through? Because I would imagine that quite a lot of the victims, once all of that is over, do they return home or do they stay here?
The law provides that they voluntarily can return, provided that we support them with reintegration measures. It means that we have an obligation to make sure that when they return back home, if we want to return them back home, there is an infrastructure there for them, or cooperation.
So they don't end up being trafficked again?
They will end up in the hands, or they are victimized because of their cooperation with the authorities in Cyprus. And they face serious victimization against from the exploitation rings there. So these are obligations that we have even if they return. But it's true that, the best solution would have been to have specialized courts for trafficking issues. Because it's very difficult, it's very specific legal framework. You need to train judges for this. You need to train prosecutors for this. And the system we have right now is completely in discredit. It means that it goes to any prosecutor available, and it goes to any judge that is available in that with a waiting list mechanism. So it's a coincidence, completely coincident who is going to be the judge, if the prosecutor is qualified enough to follow the case.
And it certainly seems that the defending attorneys are, because they seem to keep putting it off.
And this is one of these are the reasons why we have, and this is also criticized very often by international organizations, and that we don't have enough convictions of traffickers in Cyprus.
Which is hardly surprising after what we've just heard. Doros Polikarpou from KISA, Action for Equality, Support and Anti-Racism, talking to us there about the plight of victims of human trafficking in Cyprus. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.